Absolutely. Let's move on to the next bullet here. New legislation is part of the 2025 Veterans Affairs funding package, which expands support in the VA transition assistance program. So this is that pre-discharge process, which is actually super good. I agree with that. It says this legislation provides critical information, resources, and tools to service members and their families to prepare them to move from the military to civilian life, like how to start a small business, how to manage their finances, and how to enroll in higher education. All right, Randy, your thoughts?
So my mind went to kind of a different place as you read through this. It went back into my career a few years before I retired, and I was involved in kind of a military version of emergency management. Got a lot of training in that. And one of the big things that is pushed in emergency management, regardless of what level you're at, be it city, county, state, federal, what have you, is alignment of resources. So, going from the federal level to the state level to the county down to the city, you want all of those resources aligned. You want all of those entities swimming in the same direction to the best you can during a large emergency response. What we do not see, and where I'm going with this, is we don't see that with legislation. So great that this, FY 2025 package, this new legislation that you just talked about, Jason, is coming down the pipe. Hopefully it turns out great for our community, but there are, 50 other states and, DC that could be aligning themselves with legislation that helps at a state level. And, there's larger cities and populated counties that could be aligning themselves with these sort of initiatives. And you might think, well, what are you talking about, Randy? Look at how different veterans benefits are at a state level as you hop between states. Do a quick Google search on it, guys. Check it out. One state might offer a very generous benefit package that's well aligned with some of these more successful federal legislative initiatives, particularly around education. Other states, it's completely absent. And it makes me wonder, is this a budget issue? Is it just the state didn't, figure out how to kind of get this legislation written, maybe by just plagiarizing from one state over? What is the holdup to having a unified and aligned sort of response to this sort of thing? Again, think about emergency management. They want alignment up and down the ladder of government entities. But when it comes to us, the veteran community, that alignment is all sorts of out of whack. So not exactly where I thought where you may have thought I'd go with that, Jason, but it's where my head was. So, Chris, your turn on that.
What was the original question again?
Well, it's to this legislation, right? The second bullet here, he's talking about the things he's doing, which I love, and we could talk about that for a half hour, but there's a gap, and the gap is alignment between state, federal, county, and city resources, because they're not all swimming in the same direction, and that bugs the shit out of me. So that's me.
Yeah. Now, and I asked that because I was digging on what you were saying, but my mind kind of was going a little bit different. I think that's the beauty of all of our different perspectives. That is really true. And this is where you have to be on top of things, because that might influence where you end up when you transition. Like if you're a wise, educated transitioning service member, don't just figure you're going to go back to your home of record and then figure shit out. Right now, you might end up doing that, but why wait? Why not go straight to being educated and seeing? Because look at the trends that so. Here's what I like. I like this because this is somebody that Representative Gottheimer has fought for veterans benefits since he's been in office. This is something that was launched on D-Day, which some might say, well, that you're riding coattails, but you know what? Why not? It's not uncommon for people to launch things on Veterans Day or D-Day, especially when they're related to these types of topics, because it takes advantage of the attention that's being brought to some of the challenges that service members face. I like it because I'm sure New Jersey is going to be one of these 3 states. He's advocating, and guess what? Manufacturing is returning, and it is part of the jobs bills that have been coming in, and part of we got semiconductor plants being built in the U.S. again. So we've realized that all of this outsourcing isn't great for national security. So, and who's best to fit in these jobs that are related to national security and manufacturing? Veterans are. It also is serving very much so the population, the segment of this underemployed groups, which is usually the 18 to 24-year-old non-enlisted folks. And so you might get some non-commissioned officers in there as well. But this is all goodness. And I love, now it's just 50 million, but I love the fact that they're not trying to boil the ocean here. They're trying to put something in place that's going to demonstrate the value of credentialing, badges, and certifications, getting veterans into programs that marry up and fit nicely. I transitioned into a manufacturing company as well, and it just seemed a lot more comfortable for me when I made that transition because the op tempo was very similar. It gets them into good civilian companies and good jobs, and then they could build their career around that. And so it gets them that first landing point. And so, and it starts small, and we in Silicon Valley love to do that. Find that big, large problem. Here it's underemployment of hundreds of thousands of veterans, and then chunk it off so you could go experiment and understand potential solutions instead of going after $1 billion bill and then have it fall completely on its arse because most of the money is going to oversight and overhead. So this is really, really cool the more I look at it. And yes, if it forces states and it forces multiple layers of government to partner up and be on the same page, that would be a great outcome as well, because we owe it to our veterans to make sure that bureaucracy and interstate and intergovernmental differences don't get in the way of this being something really good, because manufacturing is important to the country and to national security, and our veterans and their loved ones are the best people to do it.
Couldn't agree more. When I transitioned out of the Navy, I landed in the manufacturing world in the U.S. And I'll tell you, it had taken a big hit. Now you can blame that on a lot of different things. There's a lot of different theories. A lot of people blame NAFTA. I won't get political here, but the fact is that manufacturing jobs bled out of this country for far too long. And I like what you said there, Chris. It's a pilot program. Don't boil the ocean. Don't heave $1 billion over the fence and hope, right? That's what we do with tax money when we support, all these conflicts, scattered across the world. We throw money at the problem and hope for a decent result. $50 million, 3 states, fine. Let's see how it does. Let's, have some metrics. Let's see how things turn out. But targeting veterans to these jobs makes a lot of sense because they tend to do well in the manufacturing environment. So I love it. I love when things are built in America. I try to only buy American whenever I can. And I think it's just a good common sense approach. So Jason, back up to you. We kind of went through this bullet here. So
yeah. So I dropped off. So no, absolutely. And I think that, look, every piece of legislation is going to have things that maybe you wish it was a little meatier here, or maybe it's good there. Maybe I like this piece, but not that piece. And that's just the way that it works, especially when you get multiple hands in the pot and you need to get it over the finish line. There's a lot of compromises along the way. So you have to look at what's good in it. I think there's some good intent, and I think that it looks like there is some good possibilities, especially with that pilot program, focusing in on 3 states, see how they do, open it up from there. The TAP program aspect, investing a little more in that. I hope that they dive in a little deeper and make that TAP program a little more beneficial than it currently is. Even Stan agrees, my rooster. So with that, we wanted to just bring this to everyone's attention so they're aware of what's out there. Don't forget that if this is something that you support, let your legislators know, let your congressional member know that you support Gottheimer's jobs plan for America's veterans. And that way, that will give them the opportunity to work with him to develop it further, become a co-sponsor and so forth, and hopefully kick it over the finish line. With that, thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you. Have a great one, and we'll see you next time. That's awesome.